Hey, it's Spence from LaunchFlows.com. In this third of 3 videos, I'm going to show you how we have changed from Elementor to Gutenberg for our very own LaunchFlows site. Now, this is something I'm encouraging all of our customers and students to do. Not that you shouldn't use Elementor, but rather as a default by using the native Gutenberg, you're going to ensure yourself a future-proofing as well as a skill set and a bunch of assets that will be very valuable and in most cases of no charge. If you decide that you have a client using Elementor, that's cool, but I can do it right now natively with Gutenberg, and that's the point. It's built into LaunchFlows right now to just use that on all of our components. The final one I'm going to show you today is the checkout. Now, one of the things that we previously had done with Elementor was we had this nice toggle. And the reason we put this in was our own version of giving sort of social proof in the way of a couple comments or rotating quotes, but also just that we have a money-back guarantee, a simple model, updates, and support. Those are the 3 things that most people worry about when they're going to buy a new product. So by using the Kadence block for this toggle, it was pretty simple. Let me show you in the back end how I set this up. Here we're going ahead and just using what you would expect, which is a couple of the components. We've got the, let's start over here. We've got the Kadence theme. So I have used the normal width setting, but I did hide the header and the page title. I didn't want to be distracting anybody for the top of the page. I want them to see right away what it is that they're getting, as well as any of the notices. I've also disabled any of the vertical padding, so things are really tight up against the top. And I think, as you can see here, that's helpful because in a normal 16 by 9, everything somebody needs to see will be visible at all times. Next, I went ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and use this list view. I went ahead and added a row layout, and I've done this differently than I did in my previous videos. Thank you to Kathy Zant and some other folks who pointed out that in my other videos, I showed a section with the rows inside, and I guess I learned something new every day. Apparently, Ben had originally created it the other way around, which is what I'm doing here. So the rows are on the outside with the sections inside. Ironically, and thankfully, it works either way. But in this case, I made a 2-section or 2-column layout. And I divided those up 50-50. I tried these both ways, but if you want, you could just as easily drag them either direction. It's worth noting too that I'm going to be updating these to our pattern library that is free over at patterns.launchflows.com so that you can participate by just simply finding in the checkout the model I'm doing now and clicking copy that code to use it on your websites. Next, what I did is I used the availability here of LaunchFlows' pattern. I was able to just go inside of here and choose LaunchFlows, and saves me a bunch of time because I'm doing a custom checkout. I use the 1-column checkout to propagate the fields that I needed or the components in the left-hand column. And then what I did is I wanted to rearrange them slightly. So I put the notices at the top. Then I put the login information and the billing under a new advanced heading block. And the reason I did that is because the normal billing that comes out from this component has different wording than I wanted to use. So watch what I did. I went to the LaunchFlows billing block, and then I chose the block here. And under advanced, I used the LF-hide-title CSS option to hide the normal wording that comes from the WooCommerce billing component. And instead, I added my own above, and I used the wording your info. And that's a very nice way to rearrange, but also reclassify or retitle various components from WooCommerce. I did the same thing for the your order. So I added my own advanced heading, made it an H3, and that's where I put the review order component, the payment component, and I put the coupon component at the very bottom. So let's just review what I've got. So let's go ahead and refresh this page. So I've got the your info, that if somebody didn't have the right information, for example, it would give a notice at the top if they tried to check out. You see? And I think that's a good position to place it because it's sort of, there's no chance anybody's going to miss that. Next, I have, again, the billing information fields. Then I have the new title. Then I have what will show up with the details of whatever thing they're trying to purchase below in the order review. Finally, I've got the checkout and the coupon below. Now, how did I handle the right-hand column? Well, what I did there is I took use of the advanced text for making my own headline, and then just an ordinary paragraph block. Then I used the Kadence Accordion, which replaced what I was using with Elementor. And I was able to nicely customize this with a differential color. I didn't want to use too many of the same colors because that would distract somebody from what their main call to action is, which is to click the join. So you'll notice there's only one button that's pink, or sort of our local color pink, and everything else is muted in gray and purple, and that way it doesn't distract them too terribly much. And then finally, I went ahead and did the additional and the shipping fields to be hidden. And to hide those with LaunchFlows, I just simply put them at the bottom of my stack, and I similarly used our very easy lf-hide. So there's two CSS rules, or I guess you could call it a rule. I guess it's actually the classes. It's lf-hide title or lf-hide. And when you use lf-hide, it will hide the entire component. So I don't need to show the additional fields and the shipping. So I put them in there to know they're hidden, but I use the class to make sure that happened in the rule that is generated. And then finally, I actually used, for my own benefit, some inline style. Now, Kadence would make it possible, if you wanted, to put that over here under the Kadence Blocks page scripts. And I've shown this in other videos. I could put it specifically here, but the reason I don't do that is because by placing it inside of an HTML block, it actually works just fine as long as you make sure you have your beginning and ending style tags, but it allows me to copy or save this entire setup as a pattern. And that's important because when I'm going to share this with you in the patterns library, I want to make sure that the CSS also goes along with it so that it shows up exactly as I've got it here. That makes it easier for you to see it for the future, also makes it easier for you to understand that there's something going on, and that wouldn't happen if I had put it inside the page itself. Either way it would work, just in case you want to do it. Now finally, I did choose to use the normal width. You might in some kinds of checkouts use the narrow width, but in this case I like the way this one looked. Now, I just want to remind everybody that Elementor and Divi are tremendous page builders. They got us where we are today. However, for many instances, including this, you've got the simplicity, the speed, the transportability, the nativeness of building with what is inside of WooCommerce and WordPress using LaunchFlows, rather than having to have an entire layer, which, while it is powerful, definitely does change your workflow. I think in many cases for me, it slowed me down compared to working natively here, especially for things like going to the pattern library, pasting in place. So your mileage may differ, but I feel like Elementor is doing just fine on their own, and they don't need to worry about the fact that they've got 15 million plus users. For everyone else, this is a starting point where you can see how far you want to go. And then if you want, you can obviously choose to use Elementor free or the pro version. That's it for this video. If you've got any questions or comments, please do like and subscribe our LaunchFlows channel. Join our free group in Facebook at facebook.com/groups/LaunchFlows, or reach me at help@launchflows.com. This is Spence. I'll see you on the next video.